Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series, Season 8, Episode 16, and this is it. This is the final NXT special actual show that I have to sit down and review. I have one more left, and I'm pretty damn excited about it because I've been doing this season for like a little over a month, I think. I don't even know when I started it. And I'm just happy to be done with it. Other shit just got in the way for me being able to finish this season, studying for finals, my trip to Texas, and obviously my shitty webcam. But now I'm finally here to give you the end of my NXT Takeover Orlando review. I don't care if I fuck that up. I'm just gonna keep going. So this is it. So yeah, this is going to be the last one, and then I have one more episode I'm going to do right after this that you'll find out what that episode will be about in the next episode. So let's talk about this show, though. This show aired during WrestleMania 33 weekend. It was part of that because every NXT special would air during the big four mainstream WWE pay-per-views, and this was no different here. And yeah, it was a pretty decently big show going into it. You know, you didn't have a lot of storylines behind each thing, but you had some storylines. You know, this was the second time ever an NXT special aired during WrestleMania weekend. The first one being NXT Takeover Dallas. So it was pretty damn special. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Let's talk about the matches that are going to be on this show. So, we have a total of 5 matches on this show, which doesn't sound like a lot, but does, given the fact that the show's only 2 hours and stuff, and the matches last a pretty decent amount of time. But yeah, we have a total of 5 matches, and for the matches, we have an 8-person mixed tag team match. We have a singles match for this show. We have an NXT Tag Team Championship match, an NXT Women's Championship match, and then the main event, we have an NXT Championship match. And I'll get to what the matches are in a second, but if you actually look at the card on paper, it actually sounds like a pretty good NXT special, but that's only to be determined. So let's just find out to see if it will be a special show. But I'm going to go watch the show now. I'm going to structure my review like this. I'm going to watch the pre-show first, and then I'm going to watch the actual show all in different takes. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's just get right into the review. Okay, so now we have the pre-show. We had the panel of Charlie Caruso, Nigel McGuinness, and Sam Roberts. Now, it's a little bit tough for me to talk about the aftermath of this show. There's some aftermath. But this show only happened like about maybe 2 months ago, so there's really not going to be a lot of long-term effects because it's a show that only happened 2 months ago. But like I said, there is some aftermath to this, but like I said, not a lot of aftermath. Not as much as like, you know, a past NXT special. So, but there is some, so I'll talk about some. So obviously you have Charlie Caruso, who will go on to continue to be the host of the NXT Specials panel, and she also was the backstage interviewer for Monday Night Raw. You have Nigel McGuinness, who was the heel commentator on NXT, and he still is, because obviously, like I said, this was only 2 months ago, so nothing's changed. And you have Sam Roberts, and I kind of like how WWE kind of like let Sam Roberts do the panel. You know, he's kind of like and one of those internet wrestling fans who can be inside the business. He kind of knows how everybody outside the business thinks, and he won't talk like that, but he'll kind of keep it in a kayfabe standpoint, which I like. And you know, he was somebody that owned his own wrestling podcast. He's had, you know, a lot of wrestlers from WWE on his podcast, so it was only fitting for him to be a part of the WWE team. And I think having him on the panel for special events and the mainstream WWE panel is awesome. I kind of wish they would include him a little bit more than they did. Than they do, I mean. But then going on to the matches for this show, let me talk about what the matches are. So we have an 8-person mixed tag team match between Sanity, Roderick Strong, No Way Jose, Ty Dillinger, and Ruby Riott. We have a singles match between Aleister Black and Andrade Cien Almas. We have a triple threat tag team elimination match for the NXT Tag Team Championships between the Authors of Pain, #DIY, and the Revival. We have an NXT Women's Championship match between Asuka and Ember Moon. And then we have the main event. It's an NXT Championship match between Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura. And that's all the matches. And if you actually listen to these matches on paper, or this code, I should say, it actually sounds like a really damn good code. So now that I've kind of talked about the code, let me talk about the build-up and purpose behind all these matches. So starting with the build-up for the 8-person mixed tag team match. The reason why this match was happening was because Sanity had debuted in NXT in October of 2016. You know, they were hyping him up for a while, and Sanity finally debuted, and they pretty much ran roughshod over NXT, and the first person they ended up taking out was none other than Ty Dillinger. Now, Ty Dillinger was somebody they were trying to tell a story with, because Ty Dillinger had been in the WWE for years, and he just was, you know, he originally was a heel under this 10 gimmick. It was an arrogant heel gimmick, but then he eventually got over with this gimmick, and they were trying to build up the fact that he was a perfect 10, but he didn't feel like himself that he was a perfect 10, because he constantly kept letting the fans down by losing match after match, and he just could not get that big victory, and he felt like he let himself down. So then Eric Young, who was the leader of Sanity, offered him a chance. Well, pretty much he didn't offer him a chance. He demanded that he join Sanity. He demanded he make the right choice and join Sanity. So that way he could take his career path further. But Ty Dillinger refused to join Sanity. This would set up a match between Eric Young and Ty Dillinger at NXT TakeOver San Antonio, where Eric Young was able to knock off Ty Dillinger because of the numbers game with Sanity inside. And pretty much Ty Dillinger went and got some help. He got some backup. And he got some backup with No Way Jose, who had history with Sanity because they've taken him out before. And, you know, new NXT superstar Roderick Strong, who made his debut in October of 2016, around the same time as Sanity, and they helped and aided Ty Dillinger. And Eric Young said that you're just bringing, you're involving people that don't belong here. This should just stay between you and me. And they would have 6-man tag team matches on episodes of NXT, where Sanity constantly kept getting the upper hand on them. You know, there was supposed to be a match between Eric Young and Ty Dillinger, just a straight-up one-on-one match. But before, and Eric Young had sent the other members of Sanity to the back so that way they could just settle it. But then we found out none other that before the match could happen, Roderick Strong had been taken out by Sanity. You know, No Way Jose and Ty Dillinger went to check on him. And No Way Jose and Ty Dillinger wanted to make a stand, went to go after Sanity. They got taken out as well. So Sanity was pretty much taking them out left and right. So then on the they finally wanted to settle the differences. They wanted to have a 6-man tag team match between Dillinger, No Way Jose, and Roderick Strong versus 3 members of Sanity, being Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, and Killian Dane. But what the main issue was Nikki Cross. Because they couldn't find someone, because Nikki Cross, obviously, since they have that whole dynamic where a guy can't put their hands on a woman, so Nikki Cross was the X factor of the group. They needed to go find someone that could take out Nikki Cross, because she was kind of the one that was outnumbering them. And then they did find somebody that could be and were able to finally have even numbers to go up against Sanity. And that somebody was none other than Ruby Riott, who had made her debut during that 6-man tag team match and helped even the odds against Sanity. You know, she wanted to help take down Sanity because she believes everything that Sanity's doing, but if you don't go by Sanity's rules, then you know, you're not then they don't want anything to do with you. So she wanted to be the one to take down Sanity. So this would lead to this 8-person mixed tag team match between that we have on the show. And overall, this was actually a pretty decent story. You know, it was a great way to build up this faction, Sanity, and I thought it was great. So overall, good storyline there. Then we have the build up to the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the Authors of Pain, the Revival, and #DIY. This match had a lot of story behind it because each members of the teams had all faced each other in the past, except the Revival and the Authors of Pain. You know, you had the Revival, who were probably one of the best tag teams in NXT, and they pretty much dominated the NXT Tag Team division. They were the first and only ever 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions. And they could claim that nobody could beat them for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Well, then you finally had #DIY step up to take them, and they were trying to tell this story about #DIY chasing them for the NXT Tag Team Championships. You know, they would have 2 great matches for these titles. The Revival ended up knocking off #DIY at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. And then at NXT TakeOver Toronto, #DIY had one final chance to take the NXT Tag Team Championships from the Revival. And they ended up defeating the Revival in a 2 out of 3 falls match at NXT TakeOver Toronto. And finally won the NXT Tag Team Championships, proving everybody won that they weren't charismatic enough. They weren't good enough to be NXT Tag Team Champions. And it was a great a great way to end their chase for those NXT Tag Team Championships. But meanwhile, as that feud was going on, you had the Authors of Pain who arrived into NXT, and they were being managed by Paul Ellering. You know, the Authors of Pain were taking everybody out in NXT. They won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. They actually defeated #DIY in the semifinals of that tournament to get to the finals. And the Authors of Pain wanted to take the NXT Tag Team Championships, and after #DIY defeated them defeated the Revival in a rematch, the Authors of Pain staked claim to the NXT Tag Team Championships. And one thing I forgot to mention is that match in NXT TakeOver Toronto was voted during the NXT Year-End Awards as the best match in NXT, and it was voted on WWE.com as the best match of the year, which was pretty damn impressive. At NXT TakeOver San Antonio, we got #DIY versus the Authors of Pain for the NXT Tag Team Championships, and the Authors of Pain won the NXT Tag Team Championships from #DIY. And #DIY wanted their rematch, but the Revival, meanwhile, wanted to a chance at the NXT Tag Team Championships. They claimed that they could be the ones to knock off the Authors of Pain because they were the best tag team on the planet. But since #DIY had a week, and the Revival too would kind of be the coward heels by attacking the Authors of Pain and running off. The Revival, this led to during the NXT Tag Team Championship rematch between the Authors of Pain and #DIY, the Authors of Pain, sorry, I got distracted. As #DIY were about to knock them off, the Revival caused a disqualification, which meant that the Authors of Pain kept the championships, and they laid out #DIY, but they also ended up laying out the Authors of Pain. They didn't lay themselves out, sorry. The Revival laid out Razor with the Shattered Machine, which was really impressive, and this forced NXT General Manager at the time, and still to this day, William Regal, you know, because these were the best tag teams that NXT had, he made a triple threat elimination match for the NXT Tag Team Championships between the Authors of Pain, between the Revival, and #DIY. And what made this important too was because you had the Authors of Pain who were dominant. They had never been pinned or submitted. They never lost a match. This was really to put them to the test, and it was awesome. And you know, it was great. It was a great build-up, and you know, it was a match people were really looking forward to because you had two of of the tag teams in this match that had match of the year at NXT TakeOver Toronto. So I thought that this was just fantastic. And then we had the build-up for the singles match on the show between Aleister Black and Andrade Cien Almas. You know, you had Aleister Black, who was debuting in NXT. They played a number of vignettes for him. Pretty much, he was voted as an anti-hero. He acted like someone that wasn't really a good guy, wasn't really a bad guy, which I meant to say was face or heel. And he would just cut these weird promos, which I thought were great. And then you had Andrade Cien Almas, who was picking up victory after victory in NXT. He was looking really impressive. So he claimed there wasn't really enough competition in NXT. So William Regal put him in a match with Aleister Black. And obviously this was just really there to help establish Aleister Black, which is what another build-up of this match was. You know, Andrade Cien Almas really wasn't taking the match seriously because everybody claimed that he just loves to go out and party and have a good time. And I'll get into more of that later on in this review, but that's pretty much what the whole build-up of this match was. Not a lot of build-up, but you know, obviously when you have a new superstar just debuting and there's only one guy that can build up the match, it's a little bit tougher, but it was a fine build-up. Then we had the build-up to the NXT Women's Championship match between Asuka and Ember Moon. Now this was a good build-up. Even though this was a feud that had months of story behind it, even though they didn't really necessarily, you know, come in contact with each other, but they were building it up in a different way. So here's what the build-up was. Asuka made her debut in NXT in October of 2015, and she was running roughshod over everybody down in NXT. So eventually it led to NXT TakeOver Dallas. Asuka would end up winning the NXT Women's Championship, and she was dominant in NXT. She took out everybody in the women's division. She pretty much cleared out the women's division in NXT. And, you know, Asuka claimed that nobody's ready to face her. She was trying to challenge anyone, but she claimed nobody's ready for Asuka. And Asuka, even at this point, was the longest champion of any kind down in NXT, which was really damn impressive. She was undefeated, never lost a match. But then meanwhile, at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2, Ember Moon debuted. And she was running roughshod in the NXT Women's Division as well. She never lost a match. She got victory after victory after victory. And then during the NXT TakeOver San Antonio pre-show, she was on the panel breaking down the NXT Women's Championship match for the show. And she made it clear that she wanted to face Asuka. She wanted to be the one to rise up to the challenge and beat Asuka's undefeated streak, which I thought was, you know, a great way to plant the seed for that feud. So then, NXT General Manager William Regal granted the match, you know, because he felt like Ember Moon had deserved it. And Ember Moon said that, so he made the match for NXT TakeOver Orlando, Asuka versus Ember Moon for the NXT Women's Championship. And Ember Moon talked about how, and Asuka, when she was asked about how she felt about that match being made, Asuka was like, Ember Moon? She works here? So she acted like she didn't really know who Ember Moon was because she was so cocky. And Ember Moon says that, you may be not sweating me, but I'm going to show you that I'm a viable contender for the NXT Women's Championship. And at NXT TakeOver Orlando, NXT is going to enter into a new phase. You know, and it was another, and, you know, Asuka even had this thing where she said, that the sun rises over the moon or something, which pretty much means that Ember Moon will never rise over Asuka because she was considered like the rising sun of NXT. And Asuka even made an example out of one of her opponents, saying, kicking her head off and saying that that's going to be your head at NXT TakeOver Orlando. And then Asuka made, and Ember Moon also had this finisher called the Eclipse, which was pretty much a stunner off the top rope. And Ember Moon really put over that move. You know, they put over how devastating it was. She ended up injuring Billie Kay during a match. You know, Asuka even said at NXT TakeOver Orlando, there won't be an eclipse. And they really did a great job building up this match. They had a contract signing for it where they ended up going back and forth, and it was just a great way to build up this match, and I loved it. And you actually had, belief that Ember Moon was going to break Asuka's undefeated streak. Did that happen? I'll talk about that match when I get there. And then to break down this match, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce got interviewed on the panel. They really didn't break down the match that much. Billie Kay pretty much talked about how they should ban the Eclipse because it injured her. And Sam Roberts was just like, well, you can't really say that you should ban it because, moves can... people love that move and injuries happen in the ring. And then Nigel McGuinness was like, well, you've never been in a ring, Nigel. I would like to see someone come down and lay you out with a wrestling move during one of your podcasts. And they pretty much comment about how Nigel McGuinness looks. They trash Ember Moon and Asuka's fashion sense. And pretty much they get asked who would they rather face. It says it doesn't matter because we're going to be the next NXT Women's Champions. And that was pretty much it. They just pretty much put themselves over, and I thought it was fine. Then we had the final thing on the show. We had the build-up to the NXT Championship match between Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura. The reason why this match was happening was pretty much they both came into NXT at the same time, and they were building it up that fate had brought them together, which was kind of true, because the night that Shinsuke Nakamura had his first match in NXT, Bobby Roode was sitting right in the crowd, and that was awesome. Bobby Roode, and then Bobby Roode shortly afterwards made his debut in NXT. Shinsuke Nakamura had been a two-time NXT champion, and Bobby Roode ended up winning a Fatal 4-Way elimination match to become the #1 contender to Shinsuke Nakamura's NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver San Antonio. Bobby Roode wanted to shape NXT into his NXT. So that's where this match came from. And then at NXT TakeOver Orlando, at NXT TakeOver San Antonio, as Shinsuke Nakamura was getting ready to put away Bobby Roode, Nakamura ended up hitting an elbow right to the chest, which ended up completely taking out his leg. And Nakamura had hit the Kinshasa, but because of his injury, he was unable to capitalize. And Bobby Roode took advantage of that, went after the injured leg, and ended up being able to steal the NXT Championship from Bobby Roode. Being able to steal the NXT Championship from Shinsuke Nakamura, and Bobby Roode became the new NXT Champion. And Shinsuke Nakamura had to be helped to the back, and it was, very depressing. And Bobby Roode talked about how big deal he was injured, and how now he was going to shape NXT into his NXT. He talked about how we're not going to be chanting "We are NXT" anymore. It's going to be chanting that I am NXT. He was going to change it to have new sponsors in NXT, change the way the NXT should look, and I thought that was great. And Shinsuke Nakamura ended up returning on an episode of NXT, and it was questionable whether Shinsuke Nakamura was going to be the same after this injury, but he proved in a match that he was able to prevail and come out the winner. And then William Regal granted Shinsuke Nakamura his rematch for NXT TakeOver Orlando, and Shinsuke Nakamura was disgusted about the way Bobby Roode was presenting himself. He claimed that this isn't the NXT belongs to the fans, not Bobby Roode, and he says that Bobby Roode only cares about himself and he doesn't care about anybody else. And he said that the Kenneth Strong style is going to determine the fate of NXT, and that pretty much brought us to this match. I thought it was a great build-up match, a great rematch. It was a match I was really looking forward to, and that's pretty much the entire pre-show. I thought the pre-show was pretty solid, and now that I've covered the pre-show, I'm going to cover the actual show itself. Okay, so the first thing that happens is Triple H cuts a promo, and we don't actually see Triple H, but we can hear his voice, and it shows like the ring. And he says welcome to NXT TakeOver Orlando. And he says that this is WrestleMania weekend, but tonight is our night, and tonight we show why we are the best wrestling company, the best brand, he says, in the world. And he says that tonight we are NXT, and tonight we are home. And I thought it was a pretty great promo by Triple H, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Okay, so continuing with the actual show, it showed a great hype video package talking about how NXT was in Orlando, shows all like the great moments in NXT of everything that ever happened in Orlando, where it started and everything. and how the fans talk about how NXT started in Orlando and saw it rise and stuff, and I thought that was great. Then we had the commentary team of Nigel McGuinness, Tom Phillips, and Percy Watson. I already mentioned what Nigel McGuinness is. Tom Phillips, like I said, the show was only 2 months ago, so they're in about the same spot. But he was also, I've talked about fucking fuckboy Phillips, that fucking douchebag. He screws people out of their jobs. He sends text messages while he's on a plane to women saying that he wants to face fuck them. Fuck Tom Phillips. But for some odd reason, WWE has like a big hope for this guy because they always put him in like the lead play-by-play position, which fucking blows. He would go on, he's the current lead play-by-play guy in NXT. He's the lead play-by-play guy on SmackDown and the lead play-by-play guy on 205 Live. Percy Watson pretty much is still doing commentary for NXT, so he, like I said, he didn't really go that far. But like I said, this show only happened like about 2 months ago. So, and we had the first actual match on the show. It was a an 8-person mixed tag team match. Sanity versus Ty Dillinger, Ruby Riott, Roderick Strong, and a mystery partner. The reason why it's a mystery partner is because I forgot to mention this during the build-up, but during the WrestleMania 33 Access show, Sanity ended up taking out No Way Jose, so he was unable to compete in this match. So they Dillinger, Ruby Riott, and Roderick Strong either had to find a new tag team partner, or they would have to go into this match as a handicap match. Well, they did find a tag team partner. The tag team partner ended up being Cassius Ohno. Now, Cassius Ohno was somebody that was in NXT before it was released in the WWE Network, but he was released in 2013. But then he came back to WWE in January of 2017. He returned, and he had an NXT Championship match against Bobby Roode. So it made sense for Cassius Ohno, I guess, to be in this match. I think they clearly wanted to get Cassius Ohno on this show. I'm kind of pissed off about it because this guy isn't in shape at all. So his fat shows. It's just, you could just clearly see the guy isn't in shape and he's just not healthy. And that's why they released him in the first place. But I think because NXT needed the star power, they brought this fucking guy back. And I don't hate the guy. He could go out there and cut a good promo. He's not bad in the ring, but the guy just needs to get in shape. Either that or change his fucking ring attire, because he has like his t-shirt on, and you could just clearly see the guy isn't in shape. Like, do something. And it pisses me off that he got an NXT. He got to have a spot on this show, but fucking they took out No Way Jose for him. Give me a fucking break. No Way Jose deserved the spot more. He definitely is more over with the crowd, and it was just random that kind of Cassius Ohno was thrown in this match, and that pissed me the fuck off. So yeah, fuck that. But now I'm gonna start breaking down this match. So after Cassius Ohno comes out, everybody gets in the ring and brawls with Sanity, and Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott were brawling with each other. And they had a pretty bad brawl. They were just kind of trying to pull out each other's hair, and it was fucking terrible. And what made it worse was like, yeah, they kind of ruined this match. But yeah, they're able to clear out the ring, and Cassius Ohno hits a big kick right to the face of Killian Dane, driving him out of the ring. And Ohno, Dillinger, Strong, all standing tall, and Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross have a terrible exchange. They continue to go at each other, but Nikki Cross is able to get the upper hand. She tosses Ruby Riott halfway across the ring. She goes for a splash in the corner. Ruby Riott counters it into like a head scissors into the second turnbuckle. Then she hits a splash in the corner, and Ruby Riott just lets her recover, which was weird. And she wants to fight Nikki Cross some more, but Nikki Cross tags in Alexander Wolf. And since it's a mixed tag match, Ruby Riott has to get out of the match. And Alexander Wolf's acting like a crazy man. I thought that this was actually pretty funny. And Cassius Ohno pretty much knocks him out with a right hand, which I thought was funny. and then he takes out Eric Young with a right hand, and he dominates the matchup for a good portion of it. But then he gets distracted by Killian Dane, and this allows Wolf to ambush him from behind. And Sanity get the upper hand for a couple of minutes on Cassius Ohno, but Cassius Ohno was able to fight out of it. He tags in Roderick Strong, and he starts going off on Sanity. I thought he hit some nice moves. He hits an Olympic slam on Alexander Wolf, a backbreaker on Eric Young, a drop kick on Wolf, and he hits a couple of high knees in the corner onto Wolf and Young. And then he hits an Enziguri on Killian Dane, and this allows Alexander Wolf to hit a German suplex on him. And Sanity gets the heat on Roderick Strong for a long-ass time. Really, it's only Young, Dane, and Dylan. Well, no, sorry. Really, it's only Young, Dane, and Killian Dane because... really, it's only Young, Dane, and Wolf because it's a mixed tag. But they hit some nice, solid moves. Killian Dane gets in the ring. He beats the crap out of him. But Roderick Strong hits an Enziguri and tries to make it to the corner, but Dane's too powerful for him to go past him. And then he tries to fight out of it, but Killian Dane leaves his feet for a drop kick, which was impressive. Alexander Wolf continues to dominate him. Eric Young hits a axe handle to the back of the neck, which was cool. And then, Dane then hits a running shoulder thrust in the corner, and Alexander Wolf hits a running uppercut on Roderick Strong. And Alexander Wolf holds Roderick Strong in position, so Eric Young can hit an elbow drop to the back of the neck, which I thought was cool. And Eric Young takes a cheap shot at Ty Dillinger. Well, he tries to cover him, and then Dillinger gets in the ring and breaks it up, and they have like an intense face-off with each other, which I thought was cool. And then Eric Young takes a cheap shot on Ty Dillinger and Ohno, so that Roderick Strong can't make the tag. But Roderick Strong's able to take out Eric Young, and then he gets the hot tag on Ty Dillinger, and he starts going off on Eric Young, which was what the confrontation everybody really wanted to see. And he just lays in, he just beats the crap out of Sanity, and I thought it was awesome. And he just takes out each member. Nikki Cross tries to get in the ring and take out Ty Dillinger, but Ruby Riott takes out Nikki Cross. Ty Dillinger hits a suicide dive on the outside on Young, and then a crossbody on Alexander Wolf. And then he gets taken out by Alexander Wolf when he does the suicide dive. And Roderick Strong... No, he gets taken out by Killian Dane, actually, when he does the suicide dive. And Roderick Strong takes out Killian Dane with a drop kick. Alexander Wolf takes out... what's his name? Roderick Strong on the outside. And then Cassius Ohno acts like he's going to do a dive. And you could just clearly see he wasn't in shape to do this. But Alexander Wolf moves out of the way, and he does like a flip on the outside. And Ohno takes him out with like a big elbow. And then Ruby Riott goes for a dive, but Nikki Cross takes her out. They start getting into an exchange. It looked pretty damn terrible. Then Ty Dillinger puts Eric Young in the ring, and he just starts laying into him with right hands. He does a spot where he does the right hands on the top while he's in the corner, and the crowd's supposed to count to 10, but instead they just chant 10, which I didn't really like. Behind the referee's back, when Ty Dillinger doesn't notice, he gets Killian Dane tags himself in, and Dillinger takes out Eric Young with a big back body drop. He hits a super kick on Dane, and he even has to ask if he's the legal man, and he covers him. Alexander Wolf breaks up the pinfall. He goes for a pump kick on Ohno, but Ohno catches him. He hits a pump knee strike onto Wolf. Killian Dane Eric Young hits a leaping neck breaker onto Killian Dane, and he goes to hit the wheelbarrow neck breaker onto Dillinger, but Roderick Strong takes him out with a sick kick. And then Ohno and Killian Dane are going to take each other out. No, actually, Roderick Strong and Killian Dane get into a face-off. Nikki Cross gets up onto Roderick Strong's shoulders and acts like she has him in a sleeper hold. And Killian Dane, the same thing happens to Ruby Wyatt, which Killian Dane sells, which I thought kind of hurt him because he's supposed to be this big monster and he's selling that injury. Well, he's selling the fact that Ruby Wyatt, and they can't throw them off because, you know, man on woman violence, that's just terrible, even though if someone has it like in a sleeper hold like that, your instant reaction is to throw them the fuck off, but that doesn't happen. And then Ruby Wyatt and Nikki Cross are able to get at each other. Yeah, they do a terrible brawl. And then Ruby Wyatt hits a drop kick off the apron, taking out herself and Nikki Cross. Eric Young pulls out Roderick Strong, and they take out each other with double clotheslines. And Dillinger tries to go for the tiebreaker onto Killian Dane, but Alexander Wolf hits a pump knee strike, hits a pump kick onto Dillinger, and then Killian Dane hits All-Star Plantation, which is a one-handed electric chair slam on Dillinger for the win. Thought it made sense to have Sanity win this match just because of the fact that you had Sanity, who was a dominant faction, so I liked that they won. It put over Killian Dane as a monster. And during this match, Sanity was wearing mascara, which was like part of their special entrance, which I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, overall, I thought this was a good match. What ruined it was the woman. I'm not being sexist, but it's just the truth. Nikki Cross is just terrible, and I thought this wasn't a good showcase for Ruby Wyatt. This was my first time I ever seen her actually wrestle, and obviously she had to go up against someone that sucked like Nikki Cross. Now, maybe Nikki Cross isn't terrible, but maybe it's just the gimmick that she has to pull off, because that's pretty terrible itself, but I'm not sure what it is, but I'm just not a fan of Nikki Cross. But also, I kind of blame her for not being able to pull off this gimmick, because it just doesn't feel believable. But anyhow, Ruby Wyatt just wasn't a good showcase for her. And the aftermath is Ruby Wyatt and Nikki Cross are still feuding. They're in a triple threat match at NXT TakeOver Chicago, which has already happened, but I haven't seen it yet. Again, fighting for the NXT Women's Championship, so fuck that. That Nikki Cross is still in the NXT Women's title picture, and Nikki Cross continues to fucking blow and suck, which she probably does anyways because she's a woman and that's what women do. What else? Cassius Ohno is still a fat piece of shit. So that hasn't changed. But Sanity continued to dominate NXT. Ty Dillinger would get called up to the main roster on the SmackDown after WrestleMania 33. But he would come back down on NXT and blow off his feud with Sanity. He defeated Eric Young in a steel cage match. And had his final match in NXT. Killian Dane actually went on at WrestleMania 33 to compete in the fourth annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, where he actually ended up lasting with the final three guys in there, which was pretty cool for him. And Sanity now is in a feud with Roderick Strong. And Dillinger's doing his thing now on the main roster, which he's being used decently to his potential. He's still fairly new. And yeah, that's about it. That's so overall, a lot of people benefited from this match. Sanity benefited from this match. Ty Dillinger benefited from this match. Roderick Strong benefited from this match. Cassius Ohno kind of benefited from this match, I guess. Not really. Kind of pissed off. He still got a spot over No Way Jose. Pisses me off. And then you have Ruby Wyatt, who was... I can't really say whether or not this match benefited her, but yeah. A lot of people benefited from this match, which was good. So overall, I thought this was a good opening, enjoyable 8-person mixed tag match. Okay, so we had the next match. It was Andrade Cien Almas versus Aleister Black. And Aleister Black has a, this was his debut, so he has a great entrance where he acts like he's rising from the dead, out of a casket, because that's kind of what it was like. And he comes to the ring, he flips over and just sits down crisscross applesauce position, which I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, they start the match and they start chain wrestling each other, and then Andrade Cien Almas sits down like this, being full of himself. Aleister Black tries to throw him through the ropes, but Almas lands and props himself against the ropes, and then Aleister Black throws him outside the ring, and he acts like he's gonna hit a dive on the outside, but almost moves out of the way, and Aleister Black hits a stops himself, hits a backflip, and sits down crisscross applesauce position again, and then almost goes to pull him in the ring, but no, Black goes to pull him in the ring, but Almas hits a cross arm breaker over the ropes, and he starts to target the arm of Aleister Black. He runs across the ring while he's down on the corner and just slaps Black in the face. And Aleister Black, actually doing this, which I thought was kind of funny, is I think Nigel McGuinness thought he was in Ring of Honor because he kept messing up Andrade Cien Almas' name, and he kept calling him by his name in Ring of Honor, which I think I have right here. Just gonna find it. I forget the exact name, but I think he called him Guerrero Asia, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, he completely messed up his name, and he just kept calling him his Ring of Honor name. So that was pretty bad by Nigel McGuinness. But like I said, that's why he's probably in NXT, because he needs improvement and needs to realize he's in NXT, not in Ring of Honor. But I thought it was kind of funny. But Aleister Black hits a kick right to the chest, which drives Almas out of the ring, and then he hits a moonsault on the outside. Almas continues to work over the injured arm of Aleister Black. He hits another cross arm breaker over the ropes. Then he tries to go for a German suplex. Aleister Black counters into a roll-up. Almas goes for the double knees. Black moves out of the way and hits a wicked kick right to the chest again. And he starts to hit his comeback. But he goes for the, what's his name? What's the name of his finishing move? I'm trying to remember. The Black, I think it's called the Black Mist. No, Black Mass, sorry. He goes for the Black Mass, but almost counters into a straightjacket German suplex, covers him. Aleister Black kicks out, and then he hits the double knees in the corner, goes for the Hammerlock DDT, Black counters, and they both hit kicks in the to the head of each other. And then afterwards, Aleister Black pretty much kills Andrade Cien Almas, and he hits a kick to the chest, a kick right off the side of the face, and then he lifts him up with his foot and hits the Black Mass for the win, which I liked that finish. Covers him and gets the win, and Aleister Black goes over. I thought the match was fine. However, the issue I have with the match is that it was a match. That's my issue. You know, you had Aleister Black come out with this big entrance. He comes out and he's supposed to be mysterious. And I get they wanted to have him showcase his skills, and I was fine with that. But this match really should have been a squash match, by the way Aleister Black came out and stuff. Because that actually would have, I think, made him look like more impressive if he had squashed Andrade Cien Almas. I think that match should have been a squash match. Just have him immediately hit the Black Mass, and then that's the match. He squashes him. You could make a feud out of it while Andrade Cien Almas didn't take him seriously. Because the whole reason, because now his gimmick is that he's a podium, and he didn't take Aleister Black seriously. And one, it doesn't really make any sense that he is a podium, because, yeah, it's just a weird gimmick. But it actually would make sense if he actually got squashed. He just got one Black Mass kick and he was done. And that would actually make Andrade Cien Almas want to take wrestling seriously, and you could build up for a rematch on NXT TakeOver Chicago, which ended up being the next special. But they just didn't do that. They had him actually had a match, and yeah. But the aftermath, as I already kind of mentioned, what happened with Andrade Cien Almas. Aleister Black is still being introduced to the NXT universe. He's just having a lot of squash matches at the moment, and yeah, I don't mind that too much. So far, like I said, nobody's gone immensely far, but I expect Aleister Black to be like a huge star down in NXT, and I expect Andrade Cien Almas to kind of, you know, be just bland and in the same spot forever. Okay, so next match was a triple threat tag team match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. NXT Tag Team Champions, the Authors of Pain, with Paul Ellering ringside, versus the Revival versus #DIY. William Regal was out there to present the brand new NXT Tag Team Championships. They did this all night, I remember. I just forgot to mention it, that they were going to have brand new championships for every title down in NXT, because they were trying to send, like, this was a new version of NXT. They completely changed up the design, which they continue to do, which I think is great. So he presents the brand new NXT Tag Team Championships, and I actually think the brand new NXT Tag Team Championships look great. The difference is now there's like a big X on them. So I think the new championships look really cool. But then we had the match itself, and this was a great tag team match. So hashtag DIY and the Revival act like they're going to face off with each other. But then they both have a little bit of a face off with the Authors of Pain. And they both, hashtag DIY and the Revival are united to take down the Authors of Pain. Which is important because these two teams can't stand each other. But they were willing to work together to take out the Authors of Pain, which I thought was great. Hashtag DIY go after Akam. And the Revival go after Razor. Hashtag DIY attack Akam on the outside. Johnny Gargano hits a drop toe hold into the barricade. And this incapacitates Akam for the time being. And hashtag DIY go to bring out a table. They bring out a table, which I thought was really cool because you don't really see people bring out tables down in NXT because it's like a straight up wrestling company. And they attack Akam. They throw him into the steel steps. And the Revival have taken out Razor. And then hashtag DIY and the Revival have a face off with each other. And they act like they're going to take out. And they start fighting with each other. And hashtag DIY pretty much gets the upper hand on them. Akam makes a blind tag, and he flattens hashtag DIY with a double clothesline. And the Authors of Pain get the heat on Tommaso Ciampa for a while. They really start dominating him. And there was a funny spot where Tommaso Ciampa went to go tag in each member of the Authors of the Revival. They act like that, but the Revival want nothing to do with that, which I thought was pretty funny. And then while the referee was distracted, Dawson sneaks into the ring and he hits a DDT on, I believe it was Razor. And this allows him to get to Johnny Gargano and make the... this allows him to get to Dawson and make the tag. And the Revival, work over the injured... Dawson works over the injured leg of Razor, and then he gets him into the reverse figure 4 leg lock, but Razor is able to fight out of it. And then eventually the Authors of Pain get the upper hand on Dawson. They beat the crap out of him. No, actually, they get the upper hand on Dash. They beat the crap out of him, and then Dash tries to make the tag to hashtag DIY, but as payback. They don't get in the ring and fight him either, which I thought was pretty funny. And then hashtag DIY gets tagged back in, and they really start firing away on everybody. They take everybody out. Ciampa goes off and hits a knee onto Dash. Gargano hits a spear through the ropes on Dawson. Johnny Gargano hits a hits a flip dive onto Razor, and they just really fight out with the House of Fire. Gargano hits a springboard DDT. Gargano also hits a super kick from the apron onto Akam, and then he puts Dawson in the ring and he hits a springboard DDT on him, covers him. Dawson kicks out, but then Gargano goes to hit a suicide dive on the Authors of Pain, but the Authors of Pain catch him. Tommaso Ciampa tries to hit a dive on him, but the Authors of Pain throw Gargano into him, and then they just slam Gargano on the floor, onto the floor, and they take up, and the Authors of Pain put Dawson in the ring and tag themselves in, and the Authors of Pain dissect Johnny Gargano. They hit a slam stomp combo, and they just really get the heat on Johnny Gargano for a while. I just thought this was some good tag team wrestling, but Gargano's eventually able to hit an enziguri, but he's still not able to make the tag. And eventually Dawson takes a cheap shot at Akam, and Tommaso Ciampa's able to get the hot tag. He starts going off on both members of the Authors of Pain, hitting German suplexes and stuff like that, cross bodies, and then eventually hits a knee to the side of the head. And Razor is propped up against the apron, and Johnny Gargano tries to hit a sunset flip through the table, but because he's too powerful, not Johnny Gargano, but Tommaso Ciampa, but because he's too powerful, Gargano comes in and helps him, but he's still too powerful, and then the Revival knock Razor off the apron, and this allows hashtag DIY to be able to hit the double power bomb through the table, which I thought was awesome. So the Revival and hashtag DIY start working together again, and the Revival and hashtag DIY go in the ring to take Akam out, and it's a 4-on-1 match. They try to take him out, but Akam's able to fight off the Revival. He hits a clothesline on Tommaso Ciampa, just, the numbers game's too much. However, the Revival is able to take out his leg, and Dawson gets him into the reverse figure for a leg lock, and Johnny Gargano acts like he's going to come in the ring and break it up, even though it's an elimination match. I don't understand why he would do that. But Dawson's like, I got this. But then instead, Gargano gets him into the submission that he used to win the NXT Tag Team Championships at NXT TakeOver Toronto. And Dawson and Gargano have him in this submission, and Dash and Ciampa, are making sure that Razor is not going to come back into the match. And Razor tries to come back in, but Dawson and Ciampa try to hold him back with like a guillotine choke. But Razor fights out of it, and he throws Dash and Dawson onto Gargano. Dash and Ciampa onto Gargano, and Dawson's breaking up the submission. And the Authors of Pain try to go for the Super Collider, but the Revival save them. And the Revival, and it's just down to Dash and Gargano in the win. Gargano hits like a super kick, and they hit like and they have like I believe Akam down in the ring, and Dawson and Gargano hit Meet Me in the Middle, hashtag DIY's tag team finisher, which I thought was awesome. That was a huge mark out moment. And then Dash and Tommaso Ciampa hit Shatter Machine, the Revival's finisher, on him. And, I thought this was really cool to see the Revival and hashtag DIY working together. And the Authors of Pain roll out of the ring. And then hashtag DIY and the Revival have a little bit of a face-off with each other. The Revival try to ambush them from behind, but the hashtag DIY see it coming. And then hashtag DIY and the Revival stop brawling with each other. But then Razor tries to get in the win. Dash and Gargano take him out. And then Dash and Gargano hit a double suicide dive on the Authors of Pain. Still working together. And then Dawson and Ciampa. Ciampa goes for a dive. Dawson breaks it up. And Dawson hits a superplex off the turnbuckle onto everybody on the outside. I thought that was great. And then Dawson goes to put Ciampa in the win. But then Razor hits a clothesline, taking his head off, and he tags himself in. And this was also one of those the triple threat tag match where only 2 people from each team could be in the win, which I really don't like that stipulation. And the Authors of Pain hit the final chapter on Tommaso Ciampa, eliminating them, because it was an elimination match. I forgot to mention that. And then it's down to the Authors of Pain and the Revival. And the Authors of Pain beat them up for a while. They hit the Sidewalk Slam Stomp combo, cover them. Dash kicks out, but then Dawson gets tagged in. The Revival hit like the Doomsday device off the top onto Akam, but he kicks out. They get him into the reverse figure 4. Akam breaks it up, and then at this point they pretty much just kill the Revival. They destroy them. The Authors of Pain beat the crap out of them, and I thought it was some great tag team work. They actually got booed. They chanted bullshit that hashtag DIY got eliminated because they were the faces in this match, and I thought this got the right type of reaction. The Authors of Pain kill the Revival throughout the rest of the matchup, but the Revival keep trying to make a comeback. Dawson tries to hit a roll-up, and Dash prevents one of the members of the Authors of Pain from getting into the ring, but he's able to kick out of it. Then eventually, Akam hits like a Death Valley driver into the corner onto Dawson, and then Rizal hits the same move onto Dash into the guardrail, and then the Authors of Pain hit the Super Collider on both members of the Revival, covers them for the win, and they retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. I thought this was a great NXT Tag Team Championship match. The only problem I had with this match is that that it just kind of went back to being like a regular like triple threat tag match after all that chaos that happened. I was fine with that, but it's kind of like, you know, you had all that chaos. Why did it just go back to being just a regular standard triple threat tag match? And I always have the issue too where in a triple threat tag match, only 2 members of each team could be in the ring. I always hate that rule because then it limits one of the teams for not being able to do a whole lot, and it limited the Revival from being able to do as much. I still think they did a lot, but they could have done a lot more in that match. And I really wish that they would just have it be like a regular triple threat match kind of, where all members of each team could be in the ring, and instead of like 2 members of each team, because I think that limits what you can do with one of the teams. I like that hashtag DIY got eliminated first, because that made the match, that made the fans kind of like bullshit. The hashtag DIY didn't win. It actually kind of gave the chance for the Revival to shine. And the feud was kind of between the Revival and the Authors of Pain anyway, so it made sense. Another thing I loved about this match is that they've really put over the Authors of Pain as monsters in NXT, because the Revival and hashtag DIY threw everything at them, but yet they were able to still dominate them throughout portions of the matchup, so I loved that. So overall, I thought this was a great NXT Tag Team Championship match. And obviously, the aftermath of this match came as the Revival would be called up to the main roster on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 33. But Dash ended up breaking his jaw, so lately they've been out of action. Hashtag DIY and the Authors of Pain continued their feud. They're going to have a ladder match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. So I think that's really cool there. And that's kind of it, because like I said, the show only happened 2 months ago. But I guess everybody, you could say, benefited. The Revival definitely benefited because they were called up to the main roster. Hashtag DIY and the Authors of Pain, this allowed them to continue their feud. So overall, all 3 teams benefited from this matchup. Okay, so next match was an NXT Women's Championship match. NXT Women's Champion Asuka versus Ember Moon. And William Regal was out there to present the new NXT Women's Championship. The new NXT Women's Championship actually looks really damn cool. At least I think so anyways. It's like a silver belt now with like the big X on it. Kind of looks like the old TNA X Division Championship belt. So I think the new NXT Championship looks cool. And we had the match itself, and I thought this was a really good NXT Women's Championship match. And it kind of been a while since we had a good women's match in NXT, because yeah, a lot of the women's matches were either just okay or good, but this match I thought was really good. Probably in the wrong spot of the show, since we just had that great NXT Tag Team Championship match though. I probably would have put the Aleister Black Andrade Cien Almas match on this show here, and maybe put the NXT Women's Championship match earlier on in the show. Just my opinion. But let me talk about the match itself. So Ember Moon and Asuka start chain wrestling each other. Asuka tries to Asuka's impressed about this and goes to shake Ember Moon's hand, but she moves her hand away when Ember Moon reaches her hand out, which I thought was pretty cool. Asuka goes to kick Ember Moon in the face. Ember Moon ducks and ducks another kick, and then she hits a kick herself, and she hits a head scissors on Asuka, which drives Asuka across the ring, and Asuka's impressed about this. And pretty much Ember Moon is out wrestling Asuka, which is something that had never happened to Asuka before, which I thought was interesting. And then she drives Asuka out of the ring. And I thought that was pretty cool. She goes for a hip attack. Ember Moon is able to move out of the way from it. And then Asuka kicks Ember Moon, which sends her onto the apron. And then Asuka hits a hip attack on Ember Moon, which drives her off the apron, face first into the guardrail. And Asuka dominates Ember Moon for a long-ass time, which I thought she hit some good moves on her. She hit a kick right to Ember Moon's head, but Ember Moon just kept refusing to stay down. She, was constantly getting up, and then Ember Moon hit a big clothesline, and then Asuka was able to retake control. Ember Moon hit a crossbody on the outside as well, but then Asuka hit another hip attack in the ring. And then she got her into like the Asuka lock for a little while. And then Ember Moon was able to fight out of it. She was in this move for about maybe 3 minutes. And then Ember Moon started to make her comeback. I thought she hit some nice comeback moves. She hit a lot of new interesting moves. She hit like a Hurricanrana when Asuka went for a kick to the head. She hit like a backbreaker. And Asuka responded. Ember Moon went for like a high cross body. Asuka hit a... Asuka went for the hip attack in the ropes again before that, and then Ember Moon hit a super kick to the face. She went for the high cross. She went for a springboard crossbody, but Asuka hit a German suplex and covers her. Ember Moon kicked out. Then Ember Moon hit an exploder suplex, covered her. Asuka just barely kicks out, and then she went for the Eclipse. She had gone for it the first time, but Asuka fought out of it. Asuka tries to fight out of it again, but then she hits a front face like suplex on her, and then she goes for the Eclipse. But Asuka shoves the referee into the ropes, which knocks Ember Moon down. And then Asuka hits a kick to the head for the win, which I was surprised about because I originally thought they were building up Ember Moon to be the one to take the NXT Women's Championship from Asuka. She had this undefeated streak. She was a viable option. And, I thought since it was like WrestleMania weekend, they were going to want to call Asuka up to the main roster. But no, Asuka retained the NXT Women's Championship. And I'm fine with that. I mean, it was unpredictable. You didn't see it coming, and it made sense. And this pretty much turned Asuka heel because she was already kind of a heel. She had kind of turned tweener because she had the attitude where she thought nobody was ready for her. But she was still kind of acting like a face. This fully turned Asuka heel. And I still think it puts Ember Moon over because she had actually become the closest out of beating Asuka. She probably had the best performance facing Asuka out of anybody. And I mean anybody. Just because she nearly defeated Asuka, and the fact that Asuka had to cheat to win kind of showed how much of a viable opponent Ember Moon was. And, after the aftermath is this kind of gave a different side of Ember Moon's character, which I liked. Ember Moon was supposed to have competed in a Fatal 4-Way match against Asuka in NXT TakeOver Chicago, which included Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott. But... she ended up getting injured by Asuka, so it's now just a triple threat match. But I expect Ember Moon to still be the one to take the NXT Women's Championship from Asuka, maybe by NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, just because that's a big show, and you can call Asuka up after SummerSlam, which I think would make sense. So, yeah, overall, I thought this was great. And like I said, just because you could have Ember Moon take her off the first match doesn't mean you had to. You can always, I think it works better in the story if Ember Moon does it. If you get like a few matches out of Ember Moon versus Asuka, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Maybe they'll blow off their feud, and Asuka will be called up maybe by 2018. So yeah, I think that would be great. Or maybe Asuka's not going to get called up at all. Maybe she's just there to be in NXT. I don't really know what's going on, but we're going to have to wait and see. But overall, I thought this was a really good NXT Women's Championship match. Okay, so I want to talk about this next thing that just happened. Normally it shows like special guests, like former Hall of Famers, celebrities in the crowd. It's something to look forward to when I watch these NXT specials as well. And who do we see in the guest this time? Well, not in the guest, in the crowd this time. None other than Drew McIntyre. Now, obviously, Drew McIntyre was previously in WWE, if you guys didn't know. If you guys didn't, where have you been? he had signed in 2009, and he was supposed to be billed as a future world champion. Vince McMahon came out and said that he was going to be a future world champion, and if Vince McMahon has that belief in you, then yeah, it's going to happen. But Drew McIntyre, and he was started off really well. He won the Intercontinental Championship at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs in 2009, and he had a really good Intercontinental Championship reign. He was undefeated, but then he ended up losing it at Over the Limit 2010. And then he just kind of started to fall down a little bit. He was still doing pretty well for himself. He at Bragging Rights, he became one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions, and he won that at Bragging Rights 2010. At Elimination Chamber 2011, he was in the Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship, but then he didn't compete at WrestleMania 27. And then that 2011 is when he kind of started to fall. He was drafted from brand to brand. He was very rarely seen on Raw. He was jobbed out all the time. It was really a shame. I heard too, like he ended up getting a divorce. I think like one of his relatives passed away, so he was just not in a good mood, and he took it out on the wrong people, and it definitely showed in his career. Then he was a member of 3MB in 2012, which ended up just being a comedy faction, which was a real shame. And then he was released from WWE in 2014, and it was a huge shame because it was just a star they really could have made. But then he really started to work his craft. He became Drew Galloway outside of WWE. He started wrestling under his real name. He wrestled all over the world. He went to TNA Impact Wrestling. He was the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He won the Feast of Fire briefcase. He won the Impact Grand Championship, but he really wasn't being used as well to his potential really in TNA either. Then he left TNA, worked in some indie wrestling companies, and then eventually he was just seen on this show. And the aftermath here was he ended up signing with NXT, which I think made sense for him to sign to NXT. NXT was kind of losing a lot of their star power, and I'll talk about that in a second. And Drew McIntyre just added that, former WWE veteran name in NXT, and I thought that was great. Yeah, he was a great guy to be in NXT. He's still just kind of getting his foot in NXT. He's had great matches so far there, though, and I'm happy that he signed with NXT. So it was great to see Drew McIntyre back in WWE, and I hope he could become NXT champion and eventually go back up to the main roster and either wrestle for Raw or SmackDown, either become the Universal or WWE champion. So we're going to have to wait and see where this goes. Okay, so then we had the main event. It was an NXT Championship match. NXT champion Bobby Roode versus Shinsuke Nakamura. They both had grand entrances. Shinsuke Nakamura dressed up like in a different jacket, a little bit different attire. It was a little bit tweaked, which I liked. And Bobby Roode came out, and a couple of women played the piano for him to his theme song, which I thought was really cool. And William Regal was out there to present the new NXT Championship. And the new NXT Championship looks good, but it looks exactly like the NXT Women's Championship. Like, damn, it's just like the main roster with the WWE Championship looking like the Raw Women's Championship, and the WWE Universal Championship looking like the WWE Championship. You even have the WWE Raw Women's Championship looks like the SmackDown Women's Championship. The Raw Tag Team titles look like the SmackDown Tag Team titles, Like, nothing feels different. And, the NXT Tag Team Championships look different, but the NXT Women's and NXT Championship look exactly the same. Like, damn it, why couldn't they look different? But I still think it looks like a good championship. Just kind of wish that it didn't look like the NXT Women's Championship. It doesn't look exactly like it. The NXT Women's Championship silver, and the NXT Championship is gold. So yeah, but we had the match itself, and I thought this was a great NXT Championship match. I thought the first match was better, but this doesn't take away anything from this match. Nakamura and Roode start chain wrestling each other, and Nakamura does the spot where he puts his head on Rude's stomach and swings his arms around. And normally the guy would push. When Nakamura does this, his opponent normally pushes him off. But Rude does it. He just looks very unimpressed at him. And normally this would, and then Nakamura does like that. Come on! But Rude just, he's not buying these mind games by Nakamura. So then he's like, no, this is my NXT. And he goes to do his glorious thing, and Nakamura kicks him away, which I thought was funny. And Rude gets pissed off at him. He kicks him away again, and then and then they start chain wrestling together some more. Nakamura hits a kick to the chest, which knocks Rude into the corner, and he goes for good vibrations. But Rude's able to fight out of it. But Nakamura hits a enziguri to the back of the head. And then this drives Rude out of the ring. Nakamura goes on the outside and attacks him. He puts Rude back in the ring, and he continues to celebrate. And he tries to hit a suplex on Rude on the outside, but Rude fights out of it. He hits a drop kick on Nakamura, but Nakamura ends up staying on the apron. And then Rude knocks Nakamura, and he ends up landing shoulder first onto the guardrail. And Rude pretty much takes control of this matchup for a while. He just pretty much kicks Nakamura's ass for a while. He hits a sick neck breaker on him, covers him. Nakamura kicks out, and then Nakamura tries to come back, but Rude hits a back elbow on him, and elbow drop, and then a knee drop on him, covers him. Nakamura kicks out again, and then eventually Rude continues to dominate, but then eventually Nakamura hits a kick to the head, and then he starts making his comeback. He hits a kick to the ribs while Rude's handing ribs first. He hits a knee to the side of the head while he's on the apron, and then a knee drop to the back of the head of Rude. And then what else? Nakamura. There was something else that I wanted to mention happened in this match. But Nakamura continues to dominate. He hits he acts like he's going to go for the Kinshasa, but instead he turns it into a drop kick, covers him, Rude kicks out. Then Nakamura goes for the Kinshasa, but Rude counters into a backbreaker, covers him. Nakamura kicks out, and then Nakamura hits another kick to the head on him, goes for the Kinshasa. Rude moves out of the way, and Nakamura Rude he hits a chop block right to the bad leg of Nakamura that he injured in NXT TakeOver San Antonio. Which I like this, because I like how Nakamura didn't immediately start selling the injury. He actually started off doing very well at first, and then eventually, once he went after the injury, he started selling it, because Rude pretty much picks apart Nakamura for a while. Nakamura, he really works over the leg of Shinsuke Nakamura. He slams it against the steel post, and then he gets him into the figure 4 leg lock. Nakamura struggles to get out of it. He keeps trying to reverse it, but the damage in his leg is too much. But eventually he does, but Rude's too close to the rope, so Rude's able to get right back in control, and he stomps on his leg, while it's against the ropes. And then eventually he goes for another figure 4, but Nakamura turns it into a cross arm breaker. But Rude's got his hands pressed together, but eventually he's able to break the grip. And then Nakamura really eventually starts to stretch at it. Then he turns it into a triangle choke. Rude hits a powerbomb to fight out of it and covers him. Nakamura kicks out. Nakamura goes for another Kinshasa. But Rude counters it into a backbreaker, which really bends Nakamura's spine in half, covers him. Nakamura kicks out again. Nakamura hits a knee to the side of the head on Rude, covers him. Rude kicks out again, and then he goes for the Kinshasa, but Rude rolls out of the ring, and Nakamura has to go out after him. He goes for the Kinshasa, but Rude counters into a spine buster. Covers him. Nakamura kicks out, and then Nakamura and Rude have an intense face-off where they both get to their feet and they both started trading blows together. And Rude hits a glorious DDT on Nakamura. Nakamura kicks out of it, which was popped. And what I liked about this is what made it feel special was this was the first time somebody hit their finisher and they kicked out. Nowadays on mainstream WWE pay-per-view, everybody kicks out of finishers, but here on this show, this was the only time somebody kicked out of a finisher, which I liked. Actually, I didn't like it. I loved it. And then Rude gets pissed off, so he goes to grab the win bell, and he's going to use it to get himself disqualified. The referee takes it away from him. He asks him to disqualify him, but he refuses. Nakamura hits a reverse exploder suplex, and he goes for the Keem Sasha, but Rude hits a shoulder like a shoulder block right to the knee, completely taking out Nakamura's knee, and then he hits a glorious DDT from the second turnbuckle and wins the match and retains the NXT Championship. I was very okay with this decision. I thought Rude was doing some great things with the NXT Championship. There was no reason to take the title off him, and yeah, I just thought it was I thought this was a really good main event, and I like that this match had the storyline where, where Nakamura's knee ended up hurting him. I thought he had some good submission wrestling in this match. I think the reason why the first match was better was because it was a little bit more unpredictable about who was going to win this match, about who was going to win that match, and I thought the psychology was a little bit better in that match. And it had that knockout moment of when Rude won the NXT Championship. But this match, too, I thought was really good. I'm not going to really knock it. And actually, this match and the NXT Tag Team Championship match both ended up being the best matches during WrestleMania weekend, which I thought was really impressive. And obviously, the aftermath of this show, Bobby Roode would continue to be the NXT champion, and he's going to have an NXT Championship defense at NXT TakeOver Chicago. He pretty much and Shinsuke Nakamura got called up to the main roster, and he debuted on the SmackDown after WrestleMania 33, and he had one final farewell down in NXT, saying goodbye to everybody, which Bobby Roode brags about the fact that he sent Shinsuke Nakamura packing, and Shinsuke Nakamura has been used pretty well on the main roster. It doesn't really feel like they really get on the main roster, though they really get Shinsuke Nakamura, because instead of calling him the King of Strong Style and kind of featuring him on NXT, instead they call him what do they call him? They said they call him the Artist, and now they're calling him the Rockstar, and they're having him cut these long promos on SmackDown instead of not having him really speak all that much. And they're just kind of making Shinsuke Nakamura look like a chump, in my opinion. But he was on SmackDown. He didn't wrestle until Backlash, and he debuted on like the beginning of April and didn't wrestle until like the end of May, which was really stupid. Like I said, if you were going to do that, you should have had Shinsuke Nakamura drop the title here and then have his rematch in NXT TakeOver Chicago. And yeah, and I'm saying like just because it would have made sense, and considering the fact that Shinsuke didn't end up wrestling on the main roster until the end of May anyways, so it was really stupid. But now he's going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match at Money in the Bank, which was really cool. And I don't think he's going to win the match, but, the fact that he gets to showcase that spotlight. I expect Shinsuke Nakamura to be a pretty big star on SmackDown. I expect him to win the WWE Championship by WrestleMania 34, hopefully, and have some great matches. He has a lot of great wrestlers he can work with on SmackDown. And Bobby Roode, I expect him to drop the NXT Championship. I don't think he's going to lose it in NXT TakeOver Chicago. I haven't seen that show yet, so that's why I'm saying this. But I do think he probably will lose it at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. But yeah, I thought both people benefited from this match. Shinsuke Nakamura, had a great final send-off here, and he really made Bobby Roode look like $1 million. And I still think that Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura have very good chemistry with each other. And that's, I think, really great. But yeah, that was the main event. I thought it was a really good main event. I think also the reason I think this match, the first match is better, is I can remember that match move for move. This match I can, but not as well. And that match I just remember it very well. So that's why I think think that match is better, because I can remember it better. I guess if you remember a match though, that doesn't really make it good, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so next we had the Facebook Live interview with Shawn Michaels. I just lost $100. I know that. If you don't know the joke, it's only a joke that me and my friends know, so it's going to be something that we're never going to tell you. Now, normally Triple H does these Facebook Live interviews, but he was gearing up for his match at WrestleMania 33, so instead Shawn Michaels stepped in. I thought he was a decent replacement, and pretty much he goes over the matches that took place on the show and then gives some of his predictions for WrestleMania 33. I thought he did a decent job. It definitely felt like, though, that he really couldn't get his words across. It was weird, like he was nervous or something, but I thought Shawn Michaels did a decent job here. Okay, so now I'm going to give you my star ratings for each match and overall thoughts on the show. So let me just start doing that. For the 8-person mixed tag team match, I'm probably going to give that match 3 stars. I would rate it higher, but the woman ruined this match, and the fact that they took out No Way Jose for Cassius Ohno pisses me off, but the right team went over. Everybody benefits from this match, so I think that's pretty cool. For the singles match, it's an average match, really, so I'm probably just going to rate this match 2 stars. This match really, like I said, should have just been a squash match. For the NXT Tag Team Championship match, I'm probably going to give that match 4 stars. It's just a great tag team match. Just only, like I said, the only issue is that the rules of a triple threat tag match, which could ruin any triple threat tag match, and the fact that the match just went into a standard wrestling match, and that the Revival really didn't do a whole lot in that match. For the NXT Women's Championship match, probably going to give that match 3.25 stars, because I thought that was a really good NXT Women's Championship match. I thought the right person went over and, in the right way. And then for the NXT Championship match, I'm probably going to give that match 3.5 stars, just because it was a good technical wrestling match. And, yeah, it just really showcased both guys' athleticism. I thought the psychology was pretty decent in that match, and the right person went over. So those are my star ratings. I'm going to leave those down in the description box down below. My overall thoughts on the show is I actually thought this was a really good takeover. I really enjoyed it. The first couple of what really makes the show is the last 3 matches. I think that I think they definitely delivered, but I thought the the opening match was good. And it definitely did feel like a big show. It's not like a great takeover. I don't think it's as good as like other NXT specials that they have, but I think it's a really good one. So if I had to rate it, I'll probably rate it a 8.5 out of 10. I just think it's a really good show. Right people the right people went over in the right way. It has decent matches on it. I thought the pre-show was good. I thought the Shawn Michaels Facebook Live interview was good. Seeing the return of Drew McIntyre was really damn cool. So overall, those are that's my thoughts on the show. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm finally done reviewing the final takeover I have to do. So thank you guys for sitting through this longness, but I do have one more episode to do, and then I will finally be done with this season. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe to my CM Brothers and Owen the Talkinator channel, and please make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. That's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.